Hey guys, so today we are going to be talking about shading once our sketches of our still life are done. So again, after you have the sketch of the still life completed, your next step and the most important step is going to be doing the shading. Now, the shading, even though it's really important for making your work look realistic, is actually a little bit easier than getting the sketch in there. So the hardest part is done. We have the sketch in there, and now we're just gonna go in and color it and shade it to make it look a little bit more realistic and make it pop out a bit. Again, the point of shading, the point of adding lights and darks and everything in between is so that we can make stuff that's flat on a 2D piece of paper, kind of pop off the page to make it look a little bit more realistic. So I have a lot of color choices here, 180 different colored pencils, very exciting stuff. And what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna pick a couple of colors for each object. I don't need too many. So I have this red vase here, okay? And I'm gonna need a red, a little bit of a darker red, maybe a black. So I'm gonna pick a couple of those colors out here. So I kind of have this darkish red color that I'm gonna use, a little bit of a lighter red color that I'm gonna use, and that's it for that one. Okay, and then for my second one, I have the skull. And this guy is a little bit of like a yellowish tan color almost. So I'm going to pick out like a yellow, a tan, and maybe a black for that one as well. So let me grab this kind of yellowy color. All right, and I have this kind of tan color here as well. Okay, so once I have chosen my colors, and feel free to share colors as well, because the other person working at your table is working on the same still life as you, of course, so you can always, work on one color while the person next to you has the other color. That way we're kind of sharing the colors there to make it a little bit better and easier for all of us involved. And I'm just gonna get kind of like a dark brown for the inside parts of this skull. And I'll just get a little bit of a white. Okay, so I have all my colors and I'm ready to get started. Now, these colors do not need to be exact. It's okay, in fact, if these colors are not exact, and I didn't even mean for that to rhyme, but it does rhyme. So I have my still life set up. Okay, and I'm gonna get started on the coloring. All right. So I'm gonna start with the vase because that's the one that I started coloring with. Now remember, when you are doing your shading, there's light and there's dark, all right? Now, we'd already talked about how when you're going light, you're just pressing lightly. For your medium shades, you can press a little bit harder and a little bit harder, okay, until you have a scale there. Okay, you can also go back and layer to make things darker, and so on. All right, and adding multiple colors in is going to get that even deeper of shading. So I'm going to start off with this first color. Kind of just go along the edges to start with. Maybe some brighter parts where I see them. It always helps to start with a little bit of an outline also. Notice where the darker parts and the lighter parts are. And begin to shade. Now for me, I'm noticing some darker parts along the edges here. So I'm gonna go in with this darker color. Just kind of get those edges. Make sure that I have that darkness in there. I have the underneath as a little darker. And I'm going to go to the lighter ones and shade those in as well. You can kind of blend just a bit in here. Now, even though I know that this vase is red, there are some really dark parts that I see in it. And for those parts, I'm going to go in with this deeper brown and kind of layer those in there as well. And you already start to see already that this alone is starting to pop off the page, even though I'm just doing the very, very tippy top part of the opening of the vase. It's already starting to pop out with the shading that I have put into it. So shading is important, but it's basically just coloring and knowing where and how to color. Okay. Now I'm going to start to go down the bottle a bit. Now these ridges that I had added earlier are the darker parts of the vase. You can kind of see on the vase here where the ridges are a little darker. So it's good to take note of these things as you're working on this so you're able to kind of really get all that stuff in there. when you do feel like you're done, I want you to go in and I want you to count how many values you have from light to dark. You should have at least 5 or 6 before you feel like you're actually done, because that is the amount it's going to take for it to start popping off of the page. So right now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, I could go back in and shade a bit more, but I do have 5 shades in there, so it does start to kind of pop out and look realistic, and that is your goal.